Hey, I'm Brian from the Verve Pipe, and you're watching Wheeler's Weekend Jams live and direct.
Wheeler's Weekend Jams live and direct.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you in tuning in Wheeler's Weekend Jams live and direct once again. Today on Wheeler's Weekend Jams, we embark with the lead singer of the Verve Pipe, Brian Vander Ark. The Verve Pipe are releasing 2 new albums coming out February 17th, Parachute, and their live and acoustic album, Villains, that was actually recorded in Ann Arbor. You can go see the Verve Pipe coming to Chicago February 18th at the City Winery. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brian.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Nice to be here because I'm actually at home.
Right? We're in our comfort zones. Yeah, well, let's just get right into it. Now, if you had to thank one person in your life for getting you into music from the very beginning and helped you on your musical path, who would that be?
Oh, boy. I think it was a jealousy toward my brother Scott, my older brother. He played the guitar. He played in a rock and roll band. I wanted to be like him, and I begged my parents for an acoustic guitar. They got me one for Christmas in 3rd grade, and I never looked back. I mean, that's where it all started for me. So typically people would talk about their influences musically, but it didn't have much to do with music. I guess it was probably more about the competitive brotherly things. We had 5 siblings, so anything to try to get attention.
That's awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
big bro. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now tell us about your new album, Parachute. Tell us the story, what's behind the album, and how was the recording process with this album?
This recording process was terrific. You know, we've gone through a lot in 20 years. Well, it's been 24 years now. So the recording processes have been up and down and up and down and really up and then really down. And I think this is our 7th or 8th album now. And this was a little more relaxed. We took our time with it. You know, everybody wrote songs. We got together for a little pre-production. And then we would go into the studio for a week at a time and dip out for a while and play some shows and go back in. So we were able to try new material on the road and that kind of thing. And it's a terrific, bunch of people that we had playing along in this album too. You know, we added a couple of background singers for fun. And so, this album is a little bit of an extension of our last record, which was Overboard, which had that acoustic rock feel to it. Which is a little more mellower than Villains, our big album was. But, but we're getting older and mellowing out a bit, and our fans are getting older and mellowing out a bit as well. So.
Now, what was the idea of you guys recording the live album, for Villains? Whose idea was that?
Well, we had, what was my idea initially? What we were going to do originally was I was going to re-record Villains with strings and do this whole orchestra thing. And we have this great guy we work with, a great arranger. And so he was going to do arrangements for it and play everything. Chris Carmichael is his name. He's from Nashville. Just incredible musician. And then we figured out that it was going to take so much longer than I had expected, and we weren't going to make the 20-year mark. We wanted to make it a 20th anniversary. So I thought, well, let's do something live because we've never put out a live record. And then we thought, well, let's do it different. Let's do it acoustically, and then let's add different kinds of odd instrumentation and make it a little bit different because it just seems boring to me to record the album exactly how it is.
Exactly.
Did that, and we told stories for the songs. And it ended up being an incredible night, a sold-out night, and the album ended up being amazing. I'm really, really happy with it. And I'm typically not happy with live recordings of ours at all because our standards are pretty high, being where we are in life as musicians and being in music for so long. So, but I'm thrilled with the way it came out. It really came out terrific.
It does. It sounds really good.
Now,
speaking of Villains, bring us back to 1996. We had Bill Clinton as president. Now we have Donald Trump as president. How, in your opinion, how was the music scene back then compared to nowadays?
Well, I mean, we're not really in the scene as much as far as radio goes. I don't know how radio is not nearly as important to me, at least, and to my family as it used to be, and to my friends as well. I mean, everything is word of mouth now. People are always like, "Hey, have you heard this yet? Have you heard this yet?" And it's not typically stuff you hear on the radio.
Exactly.
Radio was huge in the 90s. I mean, it was huge. We did all the alternative rock festivals, which a lot of them were terrible, by the way, when you try to put, Korn with Toad the Wet Sprocket and the Verve Pipe, the Korn fans don't want to hear Toad the Wet Sprocket or the Verve Pipe, So it was always an awful experience. I don't remember one good festival. Plus, you had to play for free too. That sucked a little. I'm getting off track. Sorry.
It's okay.
The great thing, though, you mentioned the Clinton and Trump thing. The great thing is, I think at the time I wrote a lot of those songs for Villains. I think a handful of the songs that I wrote for that album were for for President Bush, the first President Bush. It was a great time to write a little bit more rebelliously, and now is a really good time to write rebellious songs.
Exactly.
During the Obama years, everything was nice and sweet and everything, and now it's like, oh boy, I got plenty to say now for sure. So we'll see how he affects. I think he's going to do great things though I do believe he's going to cut a lot of fundings for the arts.
Yes.
He's going to do great things for creative people. Already, Saturday Night Live is kicking butt, and I think that you're going to see a lot of protest type songs, and I think it's going to be a really, really creative 4 years, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I think it will. It'll recycle and come back again. I think the '60s and the '70s are gonna slowly come into our time now.
Yeah, I mean, think about how important the lyric was in the '60s and '70s. I mean, people really paid attention to the lyric, and people aren't paying attention to the lyric nearly as much anymore. It's more about a mood or, something to get them up and dance and whatnot. But I have a feeling that's gonna all shift again.
Exactly.
And that's why we pay close attention to the lyric, the Verve Pipe. We always have. We like to tell stories, have story songs. The Freshman was that way, Villains and Cup of Tea. All those had a nice story to them. Our last album, Overboard, had a lot of stories to it, and this one, Parachute, does as well. So
yeah, and I was gonna say, back in '96, like you said, radio was bigger. When I saw your guys' video for the Freshman, MTV, when MTV was MTV,
The funny thing is that I just finished my book. And hopefully it'll be published in the next couple of months and out there. But I talk about that too because the funny thing is that when the Freshman hit, when MTV debuted it, at that time, where I'm from, Grand Rapids, the cable company Comcast cut MTV just like a couple weeks before the release of the Freshman. So a local station here, a Fox station in Battle Creek, Michigan, actually played the video after the late news or something. So that was where we saw it for the first time. We didn't even see it on MTV because we didn't get MTV. Ridiculous.
That's hilarious. Now, you took some time working with kids' music. When did that exactly come into play, and what made you start creating kids' music?
Well, that was like 2008. I think we were approached to do one song for a compilation for a charity, and they just asked, "Would you like to write a kid song?" And I was like, give it a try. At that time I had one daughter.
Yeah.
And we did it, and we did it, and then we going back and forth. The band's is competitive in a good way because everybody writes. So then somebody else wrote a couple songs, and next thing you know, we have like 6 songs. And it's like, well, why don't we just make a kids record? And we wrote 4 more songs. We put out a family album, and we did it kind of on a lark, And then we played a couple of kids shows for fun, and then suddenly that took off. There's more people come to the kids shows because we played Lollapalooza, but we played the kids stage. So there's 5,000 kids, and then we play, Austin City Limits, and there's 5,000 kids, and then we play the Detroit Zoo, and there's 5,000 kids. It's ridiculous. And the great thing about it too is that not just musically, you can do whatever you want. If we were to put an oboe on a rock record, oh man, it'd be so pretentious.
Yeah.
But you could put an oboe on a kid's record, and the kid who plays oboe is going to be, oh my God, it's an oboe solo. Finally,
Exactly.
And besides that, musically, as far as the business is concerned, merchandise-wise, if parents go to a kid's show and they buy one kid a T-shirt, they're going to buy all three kids a T-shirt.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you've tripled your income. That's a good lesson to any young bands out there that are looking to sell merchandise. Make kids music, because honestly, it's afforded us a way to survive in the music industry by doing these 2 kids albums. And now we're working on it's a conceptual kids album with a story and a graphic novel, and it's kind of like The Wall, but for kids, you know.
Exactly.
And so that I'm hopeful. I've been working on that for about 3 years now. I'm hopeful that that's going to be done by the end of this year. So
awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Now, all in all, what motivates you to keep writing and touring all these years?
Oh man, there's nothing else for me. I'll say, for instance, I just finished an album with Jeff Daniels, the actor, who's just a terrific songwriter. People don't know this. He's a terrific singer and songwriter as well. We just finished an album together, and then I put out this Parachute album, and then I'm working on the kids stuff, and then we get the live album. So, and I was thinking that this year was going to go, or last year was going to go a little easier. I wasn't going to work as much, but as soon as I take a month off from music, I just, something comes over. I start getting a melody in my head and an idea, and I start jotting things down, and I get excited about it. And next thing you know, I'm creating again. I think it's innate. I think songwriters who are in it for the long haul have to do it. It's not about living your glory days. It's not about just making money to pay the rent. It's just something that we do. Exactly. I can't get away from it. And I really don't listen to a lot of music at all. You know, I'm typically just listening to my own demos and trying to create. That's what keeps me motivated.
How did you and Jeff Daniels meet?
We met because I started a house concert series about. I'm in my 11th year of this thing now, and I do about 100 house concerts a year. Typically in the summertime, I'll do 2 or 3 a day on the weekends.
Oh, wow. And
my buddy, who's a filmmaker, followed me around and made a documentary called Lawn Chairs and Living Rooms. And Jeff saw the documentary. He loved it. And he called me up and said, hey, I really love this idea, and we should write together. And next thing you know, we wrote a couple of songs, one for a solo album of mine, and then he wrote a song on the Verve Pipe record with me called Overboard.
Wow.
And then we just said, well, it's about time we make a full album. So we just made a full album, too, which people can get. If you go to jeffdaniels.com, you can stream the whole album. Check it out there.
Oh, wow.
It's more of an all-country type album, story songs, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's great. Well, I have one more question to ask you, Brian. I ask every band this. I'm a huge movie buff, and I always say, without the music in a movie, there would be the movie would be dull. There'd be no substance.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you, if you had to compare the Verve Pipe to a movie, what movie would it be and why?
Oh, man. It's such a great question. Damn you. Why couldn't you have said this earlier?
It's okay. You're not the first one.
You know what? I'm going to pick Woody Allen's Crimes and Misdemeanors. Do you know this movie?
Interesting. I only know it because of my parents. I saw it a long time ago, but
it's one of those. It's either that or Hannah and Her Sisters. But Crimes and Misdemeanors is really just it's an amazing film. It's probably my favorite of the Woody Allen movies. It's really funny at points, but it's really dramatic and serious, and got a great story and great dialogue. And I hope that that's how our band is perceived. That we can have fun at the kids' shows. That's our comedy. I mean, I pour cereal out of my guitar all over myself at the kids' shows just for fun.
That's awesome.
And then we have some serious, songs of heartbreak and heartache. And I'm hopeful that I would say that, for me personally, that's comparable. Mm-hmm. And I hope that that's how we're perceived as well. So,
that's
good question.
Great answer. Thank you. Yeah, Brian, if there's anything you want to say to the fans out there, go right ahead.
I just appreciate all the years of support, man. And people can go to thevervepipe.com or brianvanderark.com. We're very active on our social media, so the Facebook page. Ask questions, request songs at a show if you're going to go to a show. Follow us on Twitter, the whole thing, man. We have a lot of fun, and we appreciate our fans for sure.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Vander Ark, the Verve Pipe, is coming to the City Winery in Chicago, February 18th. Go get your ticket now. And thank you for everybody who tuned in on Wheelers Weekend Jams. You can find us on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go to WheelersWeekendJams.com for more info. And also follow us on our Patreon page. It supports what we do and helps us interview as many bands as possible because we love it. So, Brian, thank you so much again for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Weekend Jams.